Chuck, one of the most forgotten gym leaders of all time, maybe? He literally only had 2 Pokemon, so it's understandable. Shuckle is the most rememberable thing about Cianwood City, but not its gym leader. One of his 2 Pokemon is Poliwrath, and we love the tadpoles here on Shuckle TCG, so we're going to be starting out with a full playset of Poliwag. This is the one that has the colorless headbutt attack because Chuck is a fighting type gym leader. This is going to be a fighting type deck. We need to be able to attack with these water type Pokemon leading up to the fighting type Poliwrath. So the Poliwhirl included is also the one from Skyridge that has these colorless attack costs. More often than not, if the game plan is going as planned, you're only going to have 2 energy on Poliwhirl when you evolve up, so Twiddle is going to be your way to just stall for a turn while you get that 3rd energy on there and evolve up into Poliwrath the turn after. If your opponent keeps the same Pokemon in play after your Twiddle, then you don't really have to worry about using Strange Spiral. Strange Spiral is going to be a more continuous effect that you use as needed. You can discard an energy from Poliwrath and confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. A bit of good flavor, really utilizing Poliwrath's belly swirl, either forcing your opponent to swap or making them take the risk of actually damaging themselves by attacking you. You really just want to make sure you do keep 3 energy attached to Poliwrath for Spiral Punch, which is going to deal a minimum of 40 damage and a maximum of infinity. The other key Pokemon in this deck is going to be Primeape, and so we're going to be using the Aquapolis Mankey, 3 copies of that Mankey, and then 3 copies of Aquapolis Primeape. If the Primeape is fresh, then Karate Chop is going to be a great Haymaker attack. Probably not going to be that good past its initial use, but once it's in the active position and uses Karate Chop, hopefully on the next turn you're going to be able to attach another energy and just use Sudden Charge. Also going to be dealing that 40 damage. You're also going to be dealing 10 damage to yourself, but you also get a gust effect off of it. I'm saying the word also a lot. Your mileage of Primeape is going to be pretty situational. Aside from those 2, we're also going to include Hitmontop, the Black Star promo one. I keep forgetting that Hitmontop is a basic Pokemon because in my brain I always think, yeah, Tyrogue evolves into Hitmontop, completely forgetting that it is technically a split evolution, but into 3 different basic Pokemon. Basically what you're doing with Hitmontop is you're going to be dealing some chunks of damage with Repeating Kick, and then if you want the Double Gust effect, use Rapid Spin to deal 30 damage, and then both Pokemon swap. A bit hard to manage, but potentially does keep your opponent on their toes, because whenever they're facing a Hitmontop, they're not really dealing with the Hitmontop, they're dealing with whatever's on your bench, and they have to decide what bench Pokemon they're putting into play before you decide. So again, it's pretty situational there. Your trainer base is going to be pretty standard when it comes to search and draw. 3 copies of Professor Elm just for those hand refreshers, expediting your setup, getting those evolution cards, key energy, and trainers into your hand. Speaking of expediting, Pokemon Fan Club is going to get you those key basics early on, whether it's Poliwag, Mankey, or Hitmontop, whatever it is, going into whatever matchup it is, you're going to be able to go ahead and grab those super quick. Your extra draw power is going to come from a full playset of Bill, very straightforward, thought that was fitting for Chuck. On top of that, we're going to have 3 copies of Double Gust, just to help out with kind of this switching mechanic that you're finding amongst cards here. Both Primeape and Hitmontop are going to be gusting or double gusting. But maybe you want to force your opponent to switch, but you want to keep attacking with Hitmontop turn after turn. Well, you can double gust into a double gust into a double gusting attack just to keep moving your opponent's Pokemon around, moving yours around. But you're the one that knows how many gusting effects you actually have, and your opponent doesn't know that until they actually occur. But in the case of attacking with Poliwrath, you actually want to force some swaps. That's why you're going to be confusing your opponent's Pokemon. Make them discard some energy just to go back to the bench and get out of that confusion. You're not going to be removing special conditions for free, so the strategy does shift quite a bit when you are attacking with Poliwrath in the active position. Focus Band is pretty on theme for Chuck, so a full playset of those to protect your basic Pokemon, but also whenever you just want to attack, you're using up 3 energy. Most of these attacks are costed at 3 energy, so if that's in the active position, you want to be able to hang on for as long as possible. Focus Band will help you do that most of the time. We're also going to include 4 copies of Strength Charm. Now, you won't be able to use Focus Band and Strength Charm at the same time because they're both Pokemon tools. The Strength Charms are going to be more for spreading damage and gaining advantage early game. Or if you find yourself in positions where you're just short of a knockout, you can get that extra 10 damage. And then the Focus Bands are going to be more for late game. When you have attached a number of energy onto your active Pokemon, you don't want it fainting quite yet. You want to live out that investment, so you go for the Focus Band instead. 1 copy of Town Volunteers just to recycle some of the energy and Pokemon in this deck. 4 copies of Recycle Energy for the same reason, recycling the energy. And then the rest of the deck is going to be filled out with basic fighting energy. As mentioned earlier, Chuck's in-game team doesn't offer a ton of alternative options for deck building. Although Tantrum does deal more damage for the same amount of energy, I feel that the LC Primeape is just strictly worse than the one we already have included in the deck. Feel free to disagree though, because Primeape in the vintage formats really needs some love. Southern Islands Primeape was a consideration just because its Rampage attack can combo really well with Focus Band, so this card turns into a bit of a glass cannon, though. It's a really good haymaker. The low HP really holds it back. For those instances where you don't hit the coin flip off a Focus Band, though, I guess another option would be to run Goldberry, though that's actually counterproductive to Rampage, really. Another fighting type Poliwrath does appear in Neo Discovery and has a decent 2 energy attack. And Submission is probably going to get you some easy OHKOs whenever you are able to pull it off, but a 4 energy cost attack is a bit high for a fighting type deck, even if you are dealing OHKO levels of damage. On top of that, you are hurting yourself, and again, Goldberry is going to fix that for you, but even then, that really just turns this Poliwrath into a high-costed vanilla card to me, and that's not nearly as interesting as the Spiral Poliwrath. You can broaden your horizons and kind of include just any fighting type Pokemon as you want. I mean, I did it with Hitmontop, but that's mainly because I needed another filler Pokemon, and that Hitmontop doesn't see a whole lot of play, so I wanted to give it some spotlight. Now, as for the Machoke or the Hitmonchan that Pokemon Stadium 2 offers us, I feel like I should save those for another deck, as including multiple Stage 2s in a Gym Leader theme deck really slows it down past the point of being good at all. So Machamp was considered just a non-inclusion, and there aren't really any good Hitmonchan in Neo On. Sorry Hitmonchan, but we'll talk about you in another video probably. And that is the Chuck deck, so Chuck, your comments down in the comment section where they belong. Does anybody actually like Chuck? I feel like Poliwrath was wasted on this man. I like the fighting gym in Saffron City way better. Thanks as always for watching. Social media links are in the description. More fun things are on the way aside from more Johto Gym Leader theme decks, so stay tuned to the channel. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see on the channel. I'm always looking for new content ideas. I'll see you next video. Goodbye.